Under the rich mineral-filled land of Clifton, Arizona, there lies a dark secret that transformed this once prosperous mining town into one of the most haunted towns in America. Brace yourself as we discover eerie paranormal activities, natural disasters, and the walking dead. This is the shocking true story of Clifton's Unquiet Dead. Clifton is a small mining town that sits near the border of New Mexico, in a canyon along the San Francisco River. Discovery of the land's minerals led to the mining of gold and silver in 1864 and copper in 1872. The town was founded the next year, and it is exactly how one would have envisioned an old Western settlement with a main street full of local businesses. Clifton quickly grew to become the largest copper producer in North America, and the population of the town grew exponentially. The town's prosperity made it seem like the ideal location to live, but Clifton also had a dark side. As the town grew, so too did the number of strange occurrences and natural disasters. One of the most notable was the Great Fire of the early 1900s, which ravaged the town, destroying homes in its wake. Less than 6 years later, a massive flood struck the town in 1906, displacing several of Clifton's residents. During this massive flood, a dam broke, and 18 people perished. It seemed as if an unseen force was trying to get people to leave the area, and it appeared to have succeeded. Though some of the nearby towns were rebuilt after the floods, much of Clifton remained the same. This marked a turning point for the once flourishing town as people fled to other areas. And by 2020, the population had taken a downward turn with only approximately 3,600 people left, most of them being natives. But the flood was only a mere facade for the horrors in the town. It isn't that difficult to rebuild collapsed homes and start new businesses. But would it be easy to live in a place where one's life isn't safe? The mass exit from Clifton was not only to escape from the flood. It was a desperate flight from the unseen terrors that reached out from the town's soul to punish the residents and force many of them to forsake their homes in dread. But what was happening in Clifton? It all began with reports of ghostly apparitions from the residents. They claimed to see people late at night walking down the street and into and out of the buildings on Chase Creek Street. Naturally, when the residents see someone late in the night walking alone on the street, it's normal to approach them. This is what some residents did, only to regret it. These figures would suddenly disappear, leaving a chill in the air, and the person would feel like they've been touched by unseen hands. But this treatment wasn't exclusive to just the residents. People who came to the town and had to stay at the Clifton Hotel or the Chase Creek boarding house experienced strange sights as well, such as large shadows walking towards them in the hotel, all while a dense white fog spread around the boarding house. But that wasn't all. As they slept, the people at the hotel felt as if they were being touched by unseen hands. There were times when the doors would slam shut on their own in the hotel, or open on their own for people as they walked towards it. The Elks Building also has its fair share of paranormal activities. Residents reported hearing sounds of digging in the building many times. If the residents somehow missed this, then they were treated to chilling sounds of eerie moans or sorrowful cries. Life became somewhat unsettling for the residents of the town because of the strange sights and sounds that they endured daily, and some even believed the town was cursed. With so much paranormal activity occurring daily for many years, stories about otherworldly experiences became popular among the locals. From disembodied sounds to the shadowy figures seen around Chase Creek Street, a specific area of Clifton that looks frozen in time. With the increasing supernatural occurrences around the town, it was becoming unbearable for residents. And with their fears and tensions rising, Akos Kovac, Clifton's economic developer, decided to contact specialized ghost hunters for assistance. What no one could have predicted, however, was that the ghost hunters were about to get more than they bargained for. On arriving in Clifton, the team felt that the place was already isolated and full of history. The ghost hunters team consists of 7 members who are ready to unearth the spooky secrets of Clifton. The team came to the nearly forgotten Clifton on request in 2020, but did they successfully discover the secret behind the town's paranormal activity? Let's find out. When they arrived at the town, the investigators held a town meeting in which Clifton residents related their experiences and passed along some of the town legends. They spoke about the mysterious screams and footsteps, the shootings and stabbings, a woman who drowned her children, and other shocking events. There's no doubt that, like most old Arizona mining towns, Clifton had a tough history with plenty of Old West-style violence, and it appears that it is this dark history that set the perfect stage for ghosts to roam. While they were in the town, the team explored places where residents said mysterious screams and footsteps were heard, like Elks Lodge, Clifton Hotel, and the Chase Creek boarding house. But with the city's dark and troubled history, it was the Clifton jail that shed the first light into the secrets behind the hauntings at Clifton. In the olden days, small mining towns had a problem. Whenever people were convicted of crimes in Clifton or the neighboring town of Morenci, they weren't sentenced to prison. Instead, they were ordered to work for a certain amount of time in the copper mines. The problem with this was that many of the convicted criminals simply fled the area rather than toil in the tunnels. So, in 1881, Clifton decided to build a prison that no one would be able to escape from. They did so by blasting out 2 cells from a solid granite cliff, and the spooky history of this prison started immediately after it was completed. The town hired local stonemason Margarito Varela to construct the jail using pickaxes and explosives. Varela constructed a tunnel that led below ground and into a cavernous room. The cavern was split into 2 cells, a smaller one for dangerous criminals and a larger one for those charged with less serious crimes. Each had a window to let in fresh air and some light, but the windows were located 10 feet above the cavern floor and connected to the cells by small tunnels. Varela also bolted heavy iron bars and doors into the rock, making the jail the last place anyone would ever want to be left in. Varela's craftsmanship and the design of the jail were so good that the end product was a prison no one could escape, and no one did. But in 1906, there was a massive flood that struck the area. The subterranean jail began to fill with water, and the people incarcerated within had to be saved by breaking the bars off the windows and lowering ropes down to pull them out. The prison was filled with so much sediment and debris afterward that it was abandoned. And if it's true that buildings have memories and retain the energy of occupants, then it could explain why the Clifton jail quickly became one of the top hotspots for paranormal activities. It was because of these paranormal and strange events that the ghost hunters were called in to help unearth the haunted history of this city. With their work cut out for them, the hunters split up into teams of 2 or 3 over a few nights, setting up equipment in each of the haunted locations. One of the teams was delegated to the boarding house where they would have their own paranormal experiences that made it clear that all was not as it seemed and that the city didn't want them there. Many of the buildings on Chase Creek were built in the early 1900s, after a great fire gutted most of the buildings. These new buildings were made of stone, and today, the buildings are considered some of the best preserved examples of the Arizona territorial period architecture, with most of them standing 2 stories high. The street has been known to be Clifton's center of commerce and entertainment for decades, with many restaurants, bars, and whorehouses. It was here the hunters got their first glimpse into Clifton's paranormal activity, when the crew's camera caught an EVP capture and a light source while exploring the empty house. But that was only the beginning. Another team member joined the duo for their second go-around inside the building, and during this second exploration, they heard footsteps and even communicated directly with the spirit, who revealed an important bit of information about who was haunting the structure. While the trio were facing that inside the boarding house, another ghost hunting team had to investigate the Elks Lodge, and here they experienced a conversation with the ghostly world. While they were exploring the building, they heard walking and movement all around them, and when they stopped walking, so did the sounds of the additional footsteps and movement, leaving an eerie silence in the air. They decided to set up a laser grid to capture whatever was stalking them. After they did that, an inexplicable light source appeared. But they weren't the only ones to witness paranormal activity at the Clifton boarding house. A couple also went to the same building, and during their time there, they heard a disembodied voice who answered their question about what haunts the premises. During an investigation of the Clifton Hotel, while they were using the data logger during an EVP session, the pressure reading spiked when they asked the question, should the owners be afraid for their lives? But all hell broke loose when the team's investigation resulted in an accident that could put an end to the entire ghost hunting operation in the Arizona town. Remember the bizarre energy surge that happened when asking a question about the owners of the building, particularly if there was something in the hotel that wanted to intentionally harm them. Well, it seemed the ghosts were there giving them signs of a potential accident, but they didn't pay attention. and almost paid a very huge price for that error. They were exploring the building when all of a sudden, one of the ghost hunters took a terrifying tumble down the stairs. It looked as if she had been pushed, and there was no obvious explanation for what happened. With a history of witches doing masses at the building in the 70s and 80s, it seems a remnant of a dark, evil force was present and was trying to cause harm with the staircase incident. But was this the result of a paranormal presence? Or was this simply an accident? The team found themselves at a crossroads, but they got their answer soon in the form of another mysterious and dangerous accident. Maybe the paranormal force was sounding a warning at them. After leaving the haunted buildings at Clifton, the team endured an unexpected car mishap while driving back to their hotel in the city. It's an incident that the team, to this day, is still unsure what happened. Everything seemed fine as they made their way out of Clifton, when all of a sudden, their tire blew out, and when they got out and assessed the damage, they were just as stunned as anybody could be. What added an extra layer of mystery was a message sent to one of their phones moments before the accident which read, "Be careful." The sender was unknown. No one saw anything on the road. There was nothing that affected the tires, and to this day, how this happened is still a mystery. The secrets of Clifton's paranormal world are so dark and deep that even professional ghost hunters couldn't unearth them all. Will the dark secrets of this town ever be fully revealed? Only time will tell. Ready to discover more paranormal activities? Then click here to watch the mysterious hauntings in Old Town Pasadena, or watch this other video instead.